Joining us for more on tonight's topic is Dr. Sarah Brown, Chief of Human Resources for the Manatee County School District, and Pat Barber, President of the Manatee Education Association. I want to thank you both for being here tonight. Here is the most troubling thing that I heard in Dwayne's story, and it's good news that you covered all the bases in terms of getting the teachers in the door, but when you have teachers who are teaching outside their certification, many parents are sitting and watching this tonight and saying, we're concerned about that. What does that actually mean?
Well, typically, someone who's teaching out of field, as we call it, has credentials. They may not have them in that specific subject area. For example, someone who may be a person who is teaching science may actually have a background in, let's say, social studies or social sciences of some sort. And so they are certified in one area and are now going to get their certification or take a test in which they are able to be able to teach those students within that subject area, but they are a certified teacher when they go into that classroom.
Pat, do you have any concerns about that?
I'm concerned because it's difficult for teachers to step into those shoes, but once they're in, they have the foundations of teaching. They just have to catch up in the subject area.
So parents are still wondering, you know, are their kids getting the best of what they should be getting, even if a well-intentioned teacher is doing their best but is not certified in that area?
Teachers who have the foundations of teaching can teach any subject area mostly, but if they don't cut it, then the principal has the option of
moving them.
Exactly.
There are a lot of areas I want to get to, so let's try to run them through as quickly as we can. Number one, why are we suffering from a lack of teachers?
I think,
I know that's a broad question.
It is.
But
I think there's a couple of different reasons, and Pat will speak to this as well, but we just don't have as many people going into the field of education. There's a broad spectrum of other areas for which people can choose from as they go in. It also is just not a very easy job to take on. As we've noticed, we've talked about pay, we talk about support, we talk about those kinds of areas, and we work hard to make sure that our new teachers are supported and come into the profession and want to stay with us. But it takes a special kind of person and a drive that they need to have in order to feel success and to stay within the profession.
And retention is a problem.
Huge. Retention is a huge problem. Used to be our young teachers were staying 7 years, now they're staying 5 years.
So who are the new teachers? They're coming out of schools and they're leaving to do what?
They're leaving to do anything that their certification or their experience will allow them to do. Corporate training is a huge business for trained teachers, or they may have a degree in science or math and find a job in their field outside of the school system.
In Dwayne's story, one of the teachers who were leaving said that one of the biggest frustrations is, and we talk about this so often, that teachers are forced to teach to the test. Mm-hmm. Who is responsible for, I mean, we know who is responsible for this, but you know, why doesn't, you know, teachers or education professionals lobby the legislature to change a system which both teachers and parents believe is lacking in that area?
Teachers and parents have been lobbying the legislature for many years. The legislature has decided that they know better what is good for students than the parents and the teachers. That's why we have seen a new movement called Opt Out with the parents, because they've become so frustrated with the testing issues that they've felt like they've had to take things in their own hands.
Right, but what's also happening now is that we're seeing kids who are left back because state requirements mean that they need the test to move on to the next grade.
Exactly.
Well, and also just, as Pat said, legislators, but also superintendents and executive level administrators work to try as a coalition to be able to find ways with legislation to try to help lobby and to be part of it. We're all on the same team when it comes to that kind of issue.
Well, here's the funny thing, not to get all political, but how many times have we heard our politicians talk about allowing educators and teachers to make local decisions? It seems like you're saying that local teachers and local administrators are handcuffed by rules coming out of Tallahassee.
That is correct. The state statute requires certain things of districts, and then the districts require those same things of teachers. So it is not local decisions that are requiring the backlash of accountability.
Is there also frustration in terms of the resources that local school districts are given in terms of do you have adequate funding from the state? Is the funding directed in certain ways that you think you could do without or should be directed in other ways?
Well, certainly we know that we are not funded sufficiently. Education as a whole is lacking, particularly in our state. And it is a big problem when it comes to having sufficient resources at hand. And I know Pat has a lot to be able to share when it comes to what some of the actions that have been done through our teacher unions as well as at district level to be able to try to find ways in which we can fund our schools in a better, more efficient way.
And Pat, does that have a direct impact on the willingness of teachers to stay in the classroom?
Absolutely. Teachers want to stay in the classroom because they're dedicated to their students. However, they still have to be able to pay for their expenses for their families. And we have a lot of single parents who have become teachers or become single parents after they're teachers who have to seek other employment. They work second jobs to try and stay in education. But if we can't pay competitive salaries, they can't stay.
But on the issue of resources from the state and how school districts are directed to spend that money, you know, the flip side of this is that it got to the point that people were saying we need to have specific ways to be able to judge whether teachers and school districts are doing a good job. So therefore, the money that school districts are given, you have to show performance.
Accountability is what that's called. And our state went overboard in accountability. Accountability has become what euphemistically is called the tail that has wagged the dog. We have so much accountability in our state that teachers joke that they have one day a year to teach and the rest they test.
Doctor, do you concur?
I do feel like we have a lot that is riding on our tests that our teachers feel compelled to get done in order to find that accountability factor.
I want to thank you both for joining us tonight.
Thank you.